In the last lecture, we learned how can we pass query params and fragment to a route, as well as we learn how can we fetch query params and segments programmatically from a route. So in this lecture, we will be learning how can we create child routes, and before doing that, we need to make some modification to our application. So let me show you what I'm trying to say. So here in our app we see we have study material. So what I wanted to do is, like, when I click on any of the study material at ASP.NET, I don't want this page to happen. I simply want that once I click on this any of the study material options, my information that is under the study material components get loaded. So here I would like to say something like we have a language component, so I want that this information get loaded when I click on. For that thing, we need to create another route information, and you can do it yourself as well. So let's create a route first. So here we already have this. So whenever I click on any component, this language components gets loaded with this path. So let's make some modification under our language component HTML, because from here only we'll be will be navigating to the language component. Here is the router link that we have already when already designed in a previous video. So we are hard coding level number 4 here. So for this what we need to do is we have to pass ID. So this is the stuff. So let's see if this is working. And if I go to my home page, click on ASP.NET, so that value is working. So since I wanted to show I want to route to the single language component, so I'll make some modification to this router link. I'll just remove this edit functionality over here, because as you can see in my app module, I have already defined language/id that navigate to the language component. So here I'll make some changes like this, and let's see if this is working. How is it behaving? So you see that language study course available, but I want something like this information should get this information should be loaded just behind when I click on this any of the routers. So for this we will create the child routes, and that will help us in simultaneously displaying on the click event of any of the courses. So let's see that in action. Let's get back to our code. Here in the app module you see that we have certain paths defined, and we are duplicating some of them. Let's see. If I say languages, we have 3 languages, we are duplicating it, and we have the ID, and we have the ID dash edit. So let me make some modification, but before that, just if you wanted to have child routes, you use another property in this route. For example, if for language I'll use the children property. Okay, so the children will behave in every way as the route like this. So I'll just move this path to my children, and since we have the root path over here, we don't need this language. So one will be the ID, and the one will be ID dash edit. So since we have made our changes, let's save this thing, and let's see if it is working or if we are getting any error. So if I load, it's already loaded. So you can see that we are getting an error. This is because since we have already defined the language component, and we are navigating from the language component from here, and we already know that the only router information that is held for every route is through router outlet, and we have already defined the router outlet in the app component or HTML. So this is the home for every route information to get displayed here. So this is the root one, and for child we need another set of outlet, so that our child So we need to create another router outlet for our child routes. So we'll go back to a language component, and you see currently I have this thing. So let me comment out everything that we have inside this div and add a router outlet here. So this router outlet will, get all the information from the child route and display here in this div. So we have made the changes. Let's save it. So now let's see if we are getting any error. So the error is gone, and we have created a home for our nested child routes. So we are getting the information at the just beside the information, just beside the courses that we are having, but you can see that the information is not changing. So for this we need to make some modification in our application. So let's do that. Let's get back to our code, and here when we click on the language component, so here when we are clicking and when we are routing to that URL, so we need to make some modification here. Where is the language component? Here. So we need to make some modification. First of all, since we need to fetch the information from the route, so we'll be making use of the directive activated route. So let me create another variable here, activated route. Make sure the imports get added for the activated route. So we have the activated route import. Now first of all we need the ID, right? So let's get the ID. So I'll create a const ID variable equals to that can be fetched from route dot snapshot dot params. This I have already told you in my previous videos, and since the route has the ID, so we'll get the ID in such a way. Now since we have received the ID, now we need to create, we need to map that ID with every click event. So we'll just use let's say this dot route dot. So okay, before doing this we need to get the information, like we have the information here. So let's start route. Make sure you add the particular import for params as well, the at angular/router, and by the ECMAScript suites I'll be using the function this dot gu with this dot language equals to this dot study service dot get study material, and we notifies the ID. The ID will be params of ID. So this way we'll be subscribing to that method. Now since we are hard coding this value, we need to get rid of this as well. So I'll just move my code above this and delete this space. Now I'll just pass the ID. Okay, now since okay, so everything is intact, now we need to check whether our application is working or not. So you can see we are getting an error, cannot read property name. So one issue can be like, we are assigning a const ID. If you can see here, So if you can see in this, we have id as a number parameter, and here we are always getting a string value. So for that thing, this is string and we have defined id. So for in order to convert it to a number object, you need to add a plus over here. So we have a plus, and here also we are doing, so we'll be adding a plus over here as well. So let's save the changes. Let's see. Okay, we are intact. Let's see if everything is working. So C# study material, ASP.NET language courses available, Angular. So changes that we were aiming for are working as well. If I go to student, if I click on Yash, so you see that it is reloading my application, and you know our current state of the application is getting lost. So we need to fix this as well. Okay, let's get back to a user component. So this href we have, so here we'll be using a router link equals to, it will be an error property. So first will be /users, and the other will be user.id, the other will be user.name, right? So I guess this will work. If I reload the application, click on student, so student 1 is loaded. So everything is working fine. So this ends up a course module that is related to routing. If any important stuff comes up, and if I'll create another video, please feel free to ask questions, and if you have any doubts and just comment on the video below, and I'll respond as soon as possible, as soon as I see this information. Moreover, if you have any doubt, you can just email me, and I'll provide the resolution to you guys. Thank you. So in the next lecture we'll be I'll be coming up with another course module where I'll be teaching you service behaviors in Angular, how can we create services, and apart from that I'll be coming with a fresh video there that will teach Angular from scratch. Thank you for listening.